to you. It's on the 3rd of August 2023. Welcome to NIBS TV, and the show is Beyond Extra. This is where we acknowledge those who do things in a different manner or out of the ordinary. It's also a weekly show that comes to you live on NIBS TV on Monday to Friday exactly at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Today on the show, we will be featuring an institution who have gone ahead to create a psychology and counseling department within an institution. And what comes in mind when you hear about psychology and counseling? We all try to picture someone who has mental conditions or mental health issues. But is it still okay for those who are healthy to undergo counseling once in a while? He will expound on this and also tell us why they created such a department in their learning institution, why, what were the objectives, and how do they implement this. And to be part of the show, remember to keep the conversation going on our social media platforms at NIBS TV on Facebook, NIBS TV on Instagram, and as well as Twitter at NIBS TV. Our SMS line is 22422. We're also live on YouTube at NIBS TV. You can leave your comment there. And of course, if you have a question, you can send us in. We will answer that question. I am your host, 110, and all social media platforms I'm at 110. Your comments and questions are most welcomed. And without beating around the bush, I want to welcome our guest today on the show. Welcome very much. It's an honor having you. Before we hit the ground running, I want you to introduce yourself to our viewer back at home. Perhaps you can tell them who you are and, of course, what you do.
Thank you very much. My name is Joseph Marwa. I am an ICT lecturer here at NIBS Technical College, and I'm also a mental health advocate. Yes.
All right, Mr. Marwa, we have the knowledge that NIBS Technical College is among those institutions who have created a department specifically for psychology and counseling. Can you just define for us what it means, psychology and counseling?
All right, thank you very much. Very good question. Now, in simple terms, I would say counseling and psychology, it's all amount to matters of our emotions. And why we had to create this department is because we need to take care of issues that are going on. Now we are having students, we are having also staff members, and basically when you have people around you, there are always issues, emotional issues, there are also psychological issues and psychological effects. So we saw the need of having a department wherein if a student comes in with issues or a staff comes in with issues, then where would they go to? Possibly looking at it in terms of it's a shoulder to lean on, where one would lean on issues if you have concerns, if you have issues, and then you need someone to talk to. Then it's the easiest way of us as an institution having a department where one can come in, and because our services are free also for the entire fraternity, so it becomes easier for us to solve those issues.
All right.
Yes.
When did it start?
I may not be able to give the exact year, but we have a number of years. Why? It's because as the institution grows, in terms of population, in terms of the people that are coming in, we also had to come up with this department. So it has roughly about 5 years back, if I can backdate. So meaning that we've been able to take care of so many issues and so many concerns, and so many students have come on board. So, and we stay currently doing it. Yes.
All right. Earlier on, you've mentioned that you cater for your students and as well as staff members. So when it started, the main objectives were not only students, but staff members. And this sounds like it's a very important move for every institution to care for their staff members or their employees. Can you give us just some of the objectives that you had in mind?
One of the biggest objectives is to see people progress. And ideally, when it started, the main objective and the main target was the students, because we could see the issues revolving around students. You know why? If we look at the way students respond to many issues and the way students respond to the many concerns that we have, how they respond to studies, how they react to studies, and how they do things within the institution. So those were the main target as why the department was starting. But then we also realize staff members are also human beings,
Yeah.
and they're also going through issues. So when you come from home, you've come with a lot of other things. So when you come in here, that's when you realize there are a number of things that are not going as they're supposed to be going. So, and that's why they are also enjoying in the department. But ideally, the main objective and the target group was the students, because those are the larger audience
The
that we
larger
have.
population within
Yes.
the institution.
Yes.
If I may ask, according to your evaluation so far,
Yes.
since you started,
Yes.
how is the evaluation? Have you progressed in terms of mental health? Do the students now relate better? Do some of the problems that you faced, like, how is the progress?
I think so far so good. And one of the challenges that always comes up with such a department is the level of confidentiality and also the level of trust. Because this is a situation where you would want students to come in such a department and you would want them to talk out their issues. Before they talk out their issues, they must first of all build some level of confidentiality. They must also build up some level of trust with you, so that they know whatever information they give you, then it is safe. Whatever matters they come in, they seek help for, then those matters will be addressed in a professional way, and also they will be kept confidential, so that they don't hear their things going out there. So we had those challenges. How many students came in to the department to seek for services? There were few as we started out, but as we look at today, we have a number, because a lot of cases have been handled and a lot of cases has also been recorded. But with this, then it builds up some trust, and if students are able to get some help and they go out there and they can talk and they can say what beautiful things and what beautiful experiences they've had in the department, then it means others also will come on board. So far so good, and the department is doing a great job.
All right, you talked of having a way to implement this as a very confidential manner. So can you give us at least two ways on how students reach out for help?
One, we do it in different modes. One, we have a mode where we do group sessions. Group sessions is where you can identify some common problems, some common issues, and then you can go and address those common issues at a group session, within a group. So you can call in a student group, and then you come and address sessions and issues, and you address those issues in a group session. Then there are also different sessions where we do individual sessions. And in these individual sessions, students can come in to the counselors. All students can come in to the teachers, and they ask to be connected to the counselors. We also have a platform, an online platform, where students can book at their own time, at their own free time. They can book for a session, and then they specify the times that they would want, and then when they go in there, it is between them and the counselor. Whatever the issues they discuss, it also remains at that level.
Right,
Yes.
that is so good. If I may ask, people are different and we all go through different things in life, but there are those common problems that we all face as human beings. What have you identified from a student perspective, from students?
One of the major cases that we normally find out is depression cases, stress, frustrations, anger, anxiety. All these are some common ones. Of course, there are those ones that are deeper and they go into an individual, and there are some that also become so much confidential. But one of the things that we also need to understand, even at this basic level, is that we also have to differentiate between mental health issues and mental health disorders, because disorders, those are treatable in a hospital. It's a doctor's prescription, and you go to see a doctor. But these other mental health issues and concerns, like stress, anxiety, depression, anger, those ones are conditions that we can manage. Because if I'm stressed today, that does not mean it's a sickness. Much as it can also be a sickness in terms of the way I'm addressing things and the way I'm handling things, but it can also be managed and easily becomes manageable at the level of either with the counselor, or sometimes you just given an advice when you talk to a person.
Right. If a student comes in and gives their problem, do you follow up on the progress?
Yes, follow-up is important because once a student has seen a counselor, of course, it's through a number of sessions, just not only one session and it is done, but they have a number of sessions now depending with the case and also depending with the counselor's sessions and also the availability of the student. But a follow-up is important so that you see what you discussed, has it helped and has it worked? Has that student gotten help? And is that student now back to normal and back to doing their own duties and their own things? Are they taking up their responsibilities? So it's all about a follow-up, which is very key when it comes to counseling.
Right. What about in the case where a student probably is in term 8 and they have issues and they give their issues to the school counselor? When they are done with school, do you have a way of communicating to the student to check if they're still continuing with their lives properly?
Yes, just like I've said, depending on the case and what case and what issues that were being discussed, there are those that may call for further follow-up even after the student, long after the student has left his institution. But there are those that perhaps by the time the student is going out and away from the college, they have already been sorted out. Plus, there's also an aspect of the student themselves to reach out. If you even go out there and you knew already there was a case that was going on, it's also good to keep checking and also keep saying that I am now okay, I'm now able to do my own things, I'm now feeling better. So that we can either stop the follow-up or we still can continue with the follow-up.
So you do follow up as a counselor, as a school counselor,
Yes.
to about the students.
Yes.
That's nice. And I was reading an educational news magazine, and the writer was talking about peer counseling.
Yes.
He was saying that most secondary schools have peer counselors who guide the student on behalf of the school counselor, because most students shy off.
Yes.
As an institution, what about those who shy off? How can you reach out to them? How do you reach out to them?
One of the other ways of reaching out to students is through peer counselors, just like you're saying, because our institution has also peer counselors who have been trained by professional counselors, and they are also being given certificates as peer counselors. And
So they are first trained.
They are first trained, and they are also given a certificate just to ensure and to show that as an evidence that they have undertaken a training in professional counseling, so that they can also guide and reach out to students. Because you realize, because the population is big, our counselors may not be able to reach out to all the students. So what we need to do is our peer counselors, they reach out to the student. And of course, because it's a voluntary thing, you want to volunteer to be a peer counselor, then you're trained. And it's a training that we do every year. So that every year we have new counselors. If there are those that will still want to proceed, they still proceed. If there are those that are leaving school, they also leave, and we get new ones. But why we have them is they can reach out to the students.
Okay.
And you always see them around with badges, written peer counselors. So if a student has a case and they don't want to reach out to the counselor, they don't want to reach out to their lecturer, they can reach out to the peer counselor.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about how long is the training,
Yes.
and how do you get to identify a peer counselor from the crowd.
Yes.
All right, we'll be heading to a very short commercial break. Keep the conversation going on Facebook at NIBS TV, on Instagram at NIBS TV, on Twitter at NIBS TV, and of course our SMS line is 22422. I'll sample some of the comments when we be right back.
Welcome to the realm where dreams take flight, where imagination soars on wings of innovation. We equip you with the tools to choose. A place where your potential will truly shine. In this dynamic college where ambitions unfold, where creativity, art, and business intertwine. Ignite your flame. Join our vibrant family, NIBS Technical College, developing character skills and competence.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is NIBS TV and the show is Beyond Extra. We still have our guest in studio who is a counselor at NIBS Technical College, and of course the conversation is still ongoing on social media platforms. We're still talking about how important psychology and counseling is within an institution, and of course today we are talking about how psychology is important within a learning institution. But before we go back to our conversation, I would like to sample some of the comments. And on Facebook, we have Scholastica. Ask the counselor if an outsider can access the services. I'm watching from Canberra. Thank you so much, Scholastica. We have Fabian. I'm watching from Kisumu Njogo. I love the conversation. Thank you so much, Fabian. We have Dama. I'm watching from Gilgil. Show Ikomoto Sana. Thank you, Samia Watua Gilgil. And of course, we have Joy. Oh, such a good conversation. Joy, you didn't tell us where you're coming from, where you're watching from. Of course, we have Nyoike Wamwangi. Wow, it's good to see a college give mental health so much importance. I am an alumni and I also enjoyed having someone reach out when I needed the most. I'm watching from Kasarani. Thank you so much, Nyoike Wamwangi. I'll read some of the comments when we'll be winding up on the show. But just to give you a brief, if you're just joining us, we were talking about how important psychology and counseling is within an institution. And we were just talking about for students who shy away from looking for help from people who are way beyond their age, that is a psychologist within the institution, how else could they reach for help? And we were talking about peer counseling. Peer counseling is, of course, whereby you use people of your age, you talk to them and they guide you towards excelling or towards solving your problem. And Mr. Marwa, welcome back. And now you said that you use peer counselors to reach students who shy off. How do you identify a potential peer counselor within, among students?
Right. One way of identifying peer counselors is to look at those people who have an influence. Those people that can talk to students quite easily and they can easily relate. Because again, one of the concerns that we have is that a counselor should be someone who is relatable.
Yeah.
People can come to you easily. People can come talk to you easily. People can, give out their issues to you easily. So that is one way we can identify a student who is close to the students, and then we can reach out to them and request. The other way is where students themselves feel want to be in the peer counseling group, and they can bring forward their name. When they bring forward their name, of course, we must look at, and there are also other concerns that we must look at, the behaviors of our students, and if you want to join, who are you within the institution? So once we identify such, then we enlist them in a group so that we can now look for a counselor who will come and give them a training.
So do you pinpoint student leaders, maybe class reps, class representatives? Do you pinpoint this could be a good peer counselor?
Yes, sometimes we do. But you see also, the fact that you are a class rep does not mean you're relatable to students.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's only that you are identified at that time and you are given that role of being a class rep. But being a peer counselor, in other words, we would want to look for someone who feels about people. Yeah, someone who has an attachment with the issues that students are going through. So that is one way. Of course, by design, for us, we say class reps are also peer counselors. So by design, they are in the peer counseling group. Then plus also other students who are volunteers. In fact, for volunteers, we like it because it's someone who feels, I would want to be helping people. I would want to be a person who can be reached out to. I would also want to be a people who gets concerned with the issues of the students. So such a person, when you can volunteer, it becomes a plus, other than the person that has been pinpointed. Because I can pinpoint you, and you don't have, that
the
feeling
passion.
you don't have a passion of, I want to be a peer counselor. Yes.
So when you identify a peer counselor, you take them through training.
Yes.
Can you give us, do you source training from outside or do you just use the counselors within the institution?
But as we have professional counselors within the institution, we'd also want to see them being trained by someone who is from outside. So we look for professional counselors away from the institution who can come and talk to the students. It normally takes about 5 days, so that in the entire 5 days, they already know what is in counseling, what is involved in counseling, how do you identify cases, how do you handle cases, how do you reach out to students, and how do you help wherever and whenever you are called upon. So it's I would say it's a rigorous training, kind of.
Right. So how long is this training? Are they training for how long? Are they trained?
The training takes about 5 days, and then we will have those trainees or the peer counselors. Once we feel they are thoroughly trained, we will give them a whole year of helping students, so that the next year is when we shall have another training. But if we need a refresher at some point within the year, then we can also advocate for it.
Oh.
Yes.
All right. Since a peer counselor is just a student, just like the rest, there are also cases presented to them that could be of, difficult to handle.
Yes.
How do they then handle such a situation?
One of the advantages of training them to become peer counselors is to tell them that not everything that they can handle, even us as counselors, not everything we handle. There are cases that now you also need to look for someone else. So for them, they are trained, if there is a case that they can't handle, then they escalate it to someone else, to the peer counselors, because they are a go-between, the counselors and the students. So they are there. So before you reach out to the counselor, you already have a peer counselor. But if you feel this case is more, then you escalate it to the counselors themselves, because for them they are professional and they already know how do we handle cases and how do we handle issues that are coming from the students. So if the peer counselors at their level can handle a situation, they handle it. If they can't handle, they escalate it.
Right.
Yes.
If you say they serve as a link between the counselors and the students, what if it's a very sensitive issue? Maybe someone would feel like I don't want it to be taken to someone else. Have you ever encountered such a situation where a student had a problem, took it to the peer counselor, but then a peer counselor cannot handle it, it's beyond him or her? Have you ever encountered whereby the victim is very insecure about their confidentiality? Do you have a way of protecting their confidentiality, that it is not a must their name to ajue yeye counselor amejulishwa na peer counselor?
Very rare, because I normally say if you really need help, then you must also be open. But there are some instances where it becomes very hard, even for counselors, to quite clearly get the issue, because sometimes someone is trying to say it, but they still don't feel safe, they don't still feel comfortable, they don't feel okay to still say their problem. So it also takes time. And sometimes in such cases, you give it some time. You don't have to, when you come to a counselor, you don't have to say things right then and right that minute. Some people have to walk a journey until when they will feel they are now confident and they are comfortable, they can tell you something. But up to such a case, but very rare, oftentimes you find that those who have come, they really were wanting some help. So they will come and open up and give out the issue. There are those who feel, perhaps if it's a case that we have identified, not a person who has voluntarily come in, if it's a case that we have identified through either the peer counselors or even the teachers themselves, or even individually, and you identify that so and so needs to be talked to, such a person will come, but you will try to talk, but over some time. So you walk a journey until where that person will feel, I am now confident and comfortable, I can talk about my issue. Very rare cases. Yes.
So the students have actually embraced sourcing for help from the school counselors?
Yes, I would say they have. Very much.
That's very nice. I have heard counselors say before that they also go through, once in a while, they also go through counseling to just detox. Now, these peer counselors, they're also people, they're also human beings. How do you help them detox? Because they have been fed, I'm going through this, by their fellow peers. Now, do you have sessions where they are talked to, or do you have individuals who come saying, I feel like I'm about to burst? How do you go about it?
Yes, we do have sessions. We sometimes call it a session where they can come and unwind. You come and talk about things that they are going through, come and talk about some few cases, they not mentioning individuals and not mentioning names, but mention the cases that they have had encounter with, so that this also helps. If I have not encountered this, but you have encountered this, then how did you manage it? And when I encountered something, how did I manage it? So that you also get some help. So once we have a session whereby they can talk amongst themselves, and amongst the peer counselors themselves, and of course together with the counselors, then it becomes a very nice session where each one of them help the other one.
And how frequent are these sessions? How frequent do you help them detox?
Frequency matters and depends on how many cases you've handled and what are some of those cases that are handled. But once in a semester.
Oh, once in a semester.
Yes.
That's nice. And as a school, do you organize seminars to talk to your students?
Seminars in terms of sessions for counseling? Yes, we have. For our institution, we also have counseling coordinators, and counseling coordinators are lecturers in departments. So every department has a lecturer who has been assigned the role of a counseling coordinator. So that is the person who organizes group sessions for every class. So currently we are doing group sessions for every class. So we will chip in when the class is ongoing. So we give 1 hour. So where the professional counselor will come and talk to the students away from the classwork and away from where the lecturer is. So they are left with the counselor.
Right. So these sessions happen frequently?
Yes, they happen frequently, and we advocate for every semester. We have sessions per every department, so it cuts across. So if we have ICT department, they organize for sessions. When the lessons are ongoing, then the peer counselor, the counselor will chip in and then talk to the students, and the lecturer is away. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. And when we go back to Scholastica's question,
Yes.
she asked if someone who is already outside, how can someone get those services?
Yes, they can get, but we will not say it's free, because we have our professional counselors.
Right.
Much as they are institutional counselors, they are also practicing counselors. So out there, they are also counselors, and people can reach out to them. So when you reach out to them, of course, there is a fee. But for our students, it's absolutely free, because that is an engagement between the counselor and the institution for the benefit of our students. If someone is outside, then it means it's outside the institution, where the institution will not take care of such a case, but then they can talk to the counselor, but on a private mean.
Alright, so they have to apply.
Yeah, you apply, and then you get the services.
And how do they apply?
Of
What
course,
is the
our
channel?
counselors have offices. Out away from the institution, they have offices, because much as our professional counselors, they are also practicing counselors for the entire general public or the citizens of our country. So they have offices where one can reach out to them, and then you can get in touch with them, then talk to them on private means.
Alright, perhaps when we wind up, you'll just tell us how they can reach you, and of course maybe you will link them to a counselor. And of course you mentioned, I can remember in your introduction, you mentioned you're also a mental health advocate. Can you tell us more about that?
All right, I said I'm a mental health advocate because I like talking about mental health. Nowadays you realize that there are so many issues and so many cases that we are encountering that are all towards mental health. So how do we take care of our mental status? Because mental health is about the mental wellness, the mental well-being of every person. So our upstairs, how safe and how okay are we? So when we are going through issues like depression, stress, frustration, anger, anxiety, all these concerns, how are we handling? Because they are affecting our mental status. So why I chose to be an advocate and with Muranga County, it's because I would want to be talking about mental health. It's only that it's entitled for Muranga County, but I don't only do for Muranga County, but I talk about mental health wherever I am, and in whichever capacity that I'm in, and I'm able, I would want to talk about mental health, just to create an awareness. Mental health is a great concern. We must take care of our mental status and stay safe and stay comfortable, stay okay. And we always say it's okay not to be okay. So at that time that you're feeling you're not okay, it's still okay, and you can still talk about it. Yes.
Yeah, that's very Actually, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, it's okay. No.
Yeah. How would you advise other institutions who have not embraced creating a guidance and counseling department within their institutions, now that we know how important psychological health is?
Well, one of the things I would say is psychology matters most, and our psychosocial issues, there are so many. So I would wish every institution could embrace, be it a university, be it a college, be it an organization, not only institutions of learning, but even organizations where we have employees. Even employees also need to be talked to. There are so many people that come at work, but they have so many issues that have left at home that either may affect their productivity, they may make them not being productive as they're supposed to be. So I would wish every institution or every organization would have a section or a department or an office where people can come and have their issues addressed. You find in so many employment, more or less like the HR's office takes in the issues of the staff members. But you see, they are also human beings. We would want people who are professional in counseling, so they can talk to the staff members, they can talk to the employees, they can talk to the students, they can talk to every other person in a professional manner, so that the issues are well handled. I wish all of us can go that way.
Of course, when someone is doing well in terms of their mental health status, even their productivity improves. When you work out there as a mental advocate, and when you work in here as a counselor, have you found any correlating issues when people are out there? Unajua watu wengine wanaweza fikiria kuna mashida za ma-student na kuna mashida za watu huko nje. Have you found any correlation in between?
Yes, there are some that are closely related, but there are others that are totally different depending on fields. Because if I'm a student, there are issues that are affecting me as a student. Like, for example, when you talk about stress, and we now narrow down to different types of stress, we will talk about academic stress. Academic stress can only come to a student, not an employee somewhere else. But when I go out there and I find now an employee, now that person will tell me about work stress. So work stress is either deadlines or issues about work, the environment you're working in, the conditions you're working in, so many other the employment terms. Those are for employees, but for students, now they will relate on student matters. But there are also others that are common. Like, for example, when you talk about family background stress, that can come from everyone. It can come to an employee, it can come to a student, because our family's background, they also are dictating how we are managing life today. So frustrations, anger, anxiety, all these can come to any one of us, whether I'm an employee or whether I'm a student. So those, they are common, but the others that are now different depending on the fields. Yes.
Wow. So actually one would think, sasa nahitaji counselor wa nini at this particular point in life, but when you store your problems, they escalate. So I think it is also very important for a learning institution, even on primary level, because if you handle a child, you take them through a good mental or psychological health. When they go to high school, they also find these counselors available. When they go to campus, and they also find counselors available. When they go out there, they'll be better human beings. And we're almost winding up. I want you to give us your parting shots.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate, of course, a chance to come and talk about mental health and, of course, psychosocial issues and the counseling that we need. One thing I would want to say is that, as we've just said, it's okay not to be okay. That is number one. And number two, it's always good to look for help. You know, there are some people who will say, I would want to handle my own issues. But you see the way you handle your, of course the society has also brought us in such a condition whereby we've been told we are a men, and men don't talk about issues. But you see also men are dying of things. And men are also, and you know, when we say dying, it does not mean literally and physically dying, but you're dying within yourself. And that's why you tend to see people withdraw for so many things. People who are jovial, they're no longer jovial. People who are participative, they're no longer participative. People who are active, they're no longer active. Why? Because they have issues they're carrying, and it's like a burden. So when they have this burden, they don't want to talk about it, so it will still weigh down on them. So they will keep deteriorating little by little, and before we realize, we may lose that person. So it's okay for people not to be okay, and it's good to talk and seek help wherever you can find it. If you want to talk to counselors, identify counselors, talk to them, reach out to them, and you get some help.
Can you just give us your social media handles in case someone wants to reach out?
Yes, my social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, it's Joseph Waidakal Marwa. WhatsApp is 0725 958 918.
So you can actually connect someone to a psychologist.
Yes, I can.
Very well. As we come to winding up, unfortunately, times run so fast. I want to thank you for being part of our broadcast today. Take care of your psychological health because it is as important as your physical health. From this side of the Sahara, it's a wrap. And of course, we do this every single day of the week, from Monday to Friday, exactly at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I've been your host, Wanja10, and of course on all social media platforms at Wanja10. Good day ahead.